with anyone,
That's
so
okay.
it's all right.
Yeah.
We are not
all right,
saying
no worries.
yes. Yeah. Congratulations, my dear.
On what? I've been married 1 year.
You never tell ladies congratulations. You say well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like
Thank
you say all the best.
Yes.
All the best.
We're already live, by the way.
Okay, great.
My dear.
On what? I've been married 1 year.
You never tell ladies congratulations. You
It's echoing.
Yeah, there's a bit of echo.
No,
Yeah.
it's because I'm the host, and I
Yeah.
hope the people can. Eunice, check that on your side. You can actually hear the live because I've muted the live on my side, but I hope other people can hear. So I'll put that aside.
The live is
now
okay.
I'm going to share my, so that as people log in, I want to share my,
Okay, so as we wait for Catherine, I'd like to welcome the attendees who are joining us. Welcome, Abigail. I can see Juliana Rono. I can see Susan Zhao, Elizabeth Omol, Elsie Danga. I can see Sylvia M. Mzee Shaki, that's a guy. Yeah, that's a guy. Welcome. I think it is a guy. Mzee Shaki, that's a Taita name. Welcome. I can see Grace Jiru. Okay. As we wait for more attendees to join us, Catherine is going to share something with us.
name is Dr. Catherine Masita, and today I will be talking about who we celebrate. If there's one thing COVID has taught us, is to focus on what matters. And what really matters is people. Not just the people we love and care about, but even those people we've never met. We've learned how important it is to look after everyone. But while our view of people has been broadened, it has also shrunk in a way, in the sense that there's a much more clear focus on relationship. Because we've just realized that there are some people we cannot just live without. And therefore, those relationships are becoming more and more important. It means so that when we're celebrating, we are focusing on who can we have at our celebration, not just because of the government restrictions on gatherings, but also the closeness of these relationships are becoming more and more important. So moving into the future, post-COVID, we see that weddings are going to become much more intimate. They are going to become much more smaller, and that couples are realizing that with the same budget, you can actually have the wedding you've always dreamed of having with just the close people in your life. It's a beautiful world not made to share.
All right. Welcome everyone. Feel at home. Thank you so much for making time to join us today. I'd like to invite everyone who is in the chat, in the webinar, to introduce themselves in the chat box. Let's make this discussion as interactive as possible. So if you're here, you have joined us, please just say your name and perhaps you're in the process of planning a wedding. We're very curious to know which stage you are. Maybe you are at the stage where you're picking out your dress, or you are tasting the cake, or even you are almost getting married. We'd like to know, we'd like to make this as interactive as possible. So please just join us on the chat box. Let us get talking. We want to get to know more about you on the chat box, or the people who are attending this webinar. So please, just drop your name and let us know where you are in the wedding planning process. And you can also, and I also understand there are people who may have already gotten married. So we want to know, when did you get married? How was it for you? Because the conversation that we have in store is one that you cannot afford to miss. And it's one that I feel is very vital for someone who is going through the process of planning a wedding. So yes, I can see some people already interacting with us on the chat box. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me see. Debbie. Hi, Debbie. You did not say which stage you are, but thank you for commenting. Hello, I'm Liz. We are planning a wedding. Welcome, Liz. Wix, welcome. Hello, my name is Tatiana. I'm at the skeleton budget stage. Looking forward to this session. Tatiana, welcome. You are in the right place. Hello, my name is Sylvia. I have not yet started the process of planning my wedding, but I hope to get married in 2022. Sylvia, welcome. Grace is my name. Where has Grace gone? Grace is my name. My wedding will be in December, and I'm in the very first process. Grace, you're in the right place. We're happy here. My wedding is in September. Nicole, recently engaged. Nicole, congratulations from all of us here in the panel. I have not started planning. I'm Angela, just got engaged. Guys, I think in the panel, there are people who have gotten engaged, and I think we should all give them like a round of congratulations or something of the sort. Congratulations. It's very exciting. Yes, I think we can begin. And even as you join us, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box and mention which stage of the planning process you are in. So, to matters that brought us here. A wedding is one of the most important milestones in a person's life. But to get married, you first have to plan a wedding. And this may be a daunting process for a lot of people. The main reason for this is because a wedding has a lot of moving parts. And for many people, it usually is their first time planning a wedding. So it's understandable when someone is overwhelmed with the planning process. More so, where to begin? With the pandemic, it has become even more confusing because you just don't know what you can plan. So today, we address the issue. We address this issue. You've just gotten engaged. What next? And I'm happy because a lot of the people who are joining us are in that stage where they have just gotten engaged and they're probably wondering, what next? Where do you begin? We have organized a wonderful panel of people who have gone before us, and they have graciously accepted to share their experiences. From a former bride who went through the wedding planning process to a wedding professional who plans weddings for a living. We also have with us the industry leader who has seen it all. So welcome, feel at home, feel free to share any questions that you may have. My name is Eunice Mwe. I'm the founder of Yulito Surprise, an events, experience, design, and planning company based in Nairobi. I'm privileged to be the moderator of this panel today. At Yulito Surprise, we do things a bit differently. We cater for individuals who want to celebrate their weddings differently. We encourage you to be unapologetically you as we create experiences that will reflect your personality. I am also an alumni of the Wedding Members Business Academy, an events academy by Samantha's Bridal, where I was trained in events planning and management. For those who may be looking, to build careers in the events industry, I would highly encourage you to seek out this academy. I know of cases of people who have planned their weddings and they have found their calling in the events industry. So if you're one of those people, I would highly encourage you to seek out the WMBM. Now, I'd like to introduce our wonderful panel. And I'd straight like to first start with Tabitha. And to introduce Tabitha, kindly allow me to share my screen. Just for 1 moment, allow me to share my screen.
Yes, sound, Eunice.
No sound.
Can't hear. No sound.
There's no sound?
Yes.
No, yes, there's no sound.
Journey towards loving and embracing one's true self and choosing to bask in the
That's rewind.
Can you hear now the sound?
Yeah, there's sound, but you need to restart it.
Okay. Tabitha Tongoi graduated from Williams College in 2015 with a bachelor's degree in political science. She's currently based in Nairobi, Kenya, and is the personality behind Craving Yellow, a hair and beauty social media brand that inspires young women who are creative and life. Craving Yellow represents the journey towards loving and embracing one's stress and choosing to bask in the rays of the golden sun wherever the voyage may lead. Tabitha is passionate about encouraging positive and self-affirmative womanhood for herself and for her readers, and she does so through her social media platforms that have gathered thousands of followers over the years. Her starting point has always been healthy hair, but alongside all the outcome, real life its joys, ups and downs, pleasures and pains. So she delves a little deeper into matters close from her job, career, business, and family. Aside from growing her online brand, Tabitha has earned a Williams degree in political science, into a career in digital marketing, and she consults with some of Kenya's top beauty brands. She brings a unique mix of experience to any brand, having lived and worked in the US, UK, Australia, and South Africa. Tabitha is a dedicated wife, daughter, sister, and friend, and enjoys spending time hanging out with her besties on some calls. Tabitha, welcome. Please unmute yourself.
Yes, the struggles of Zoom. Thanks, Eunice.
Yes, welcome.
Asante sana.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. It's
Yes.
been nostalgic going through my wedding process again in preparation for today.
Yes.
So yeah, you never get over that feeling of planning a wedding. So I'm
Yes.
hoping to have a great conversation with everyone. And I hope everyone in the room, every bride-to-be feels encouraged at the end of our conversation.
Yes. Now, I'd like to introduce Henrietta, our next panelist. I'd like to introduce Henrietta, and in the same fashion, allow me to share my screen. Events Kenya is a highly sought after event production company that understands the importance of life's precious moments. Specialize in custom wedding and events design, ranging from the urban. The creatively incomparable team at Black Tie Events Kenya provides the most unique and impeccable floral design with all your guests, giving you complete peace of mind and a day to be remembered. Black Tie Events Kenya is led by Vero, who joins us at the panel. All right, Henrietta, you have such beautiful, beautiful work. Welcome.
Asante sana. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I am super excited to be in this panel meeting. Just looking forward to an awesome time. And I'd like to say a very big welcome to all our participants tonight. And I truly hope that you are going to get inspired in one way or another. So thank you.
Asante. We are also privileged to have with us Dr. Catherine Masitsa, the CEO and founder of Samantha's Bridal. Catherine needs no introduction, but allow me to ask Catherine to say a few words to welcome us here. Catherine? You are. Oh Lord, she can't hear. Catherine.
I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I didn't realize I had muted myself. I said earlier on, I'm so proud of you, Eunice. You've done an amazing job introducing us, planning this whole webinar. So thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to Craving Yellow. Craving Yellow. I was craving yellow and I was pregnant with my with my daughter. completely.
Are you prophesying?
I was actually craving yellow. So anyway, I hope later on you'll tell us why craving yellow in Vieta. Thank you so much. You know, I'm looking at those photos and I'm just thinking, is that Kenya even? Then I'm remembering, yeah, that looks like Swahili Beach. It looks like Palm Beach, but it's actually Swahili Beach. It's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, you would stand on any wild stage. My goodness, they are so beautiful. And all the best, my dear, you had a beautiful wedding. And to all our valued customers out there, brides and grooms joining us together with their families, I want to say congratulations. And we hope that you're keeping well and keeping safe. So at Samantha's Bridal, we understand your concerns, frustrations, and worries during this time. Like how in 2021, right? We're still talking about the pandemic. We thought we would be through. So we just want to say that we just want to inform you that you are not alone in feeling this uncertainty and the apprehension. That in fact, over the last couple of days since the second lockdown was announced, at least for the red zones, we have received quite a number of phone calls from anxious brides and grooms who are very unsure of how they could just conduct their next steps in light of the COVID-19. And because of these and restrictions that are now in place, what we have done at Samantha's Bridal is to adapt our services in order to continue to offer, ongoing support at this very difficult time. I mean, you had planned for this all of your life, and like, how could it choose in the year? When you're planning to get married, to have, I studied veterinary medicine and we studied epidemiology. And I never thought, we would learn things like pandemics, but I never thought we would live like a real pandemic. But anyway, so I really understand the frustrations you made just in the year you chose to get married. So to all future brides and grooms, we want to say to you that never stop dreaming, because now more than ever, we want to make your dreams a reality. So starting today, across all our socials, we'll be sharing nothing but love. We want to inspire you at home so that we can distract you from everything that is going on, so that you can just focus on planning your amazing day that is coming up. So we have launched these webinar series every Wednesday. And also we've launched an online consultation service, which we're operating complimentary basis for all brides and grooms who may require any advice or support, or if you your wedding, or anybody who's planning their wedding and they've been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and they would just maybe benefit from speaking to an industry expert. As you know, we have a whole list of industry experts. Henrietta is here. She's going to be sharing with you. So you should not hesitate. You can contact us at info@samanthasbridal.co.ke, or you can get to us through any of our socials, because we are here to guide you. We're here to support you during this time. So please, please, please do not go through this alone. We want you to stay positive, because you've got this. You've got this. So best wishes from the Samantha's Bridal team. We are here for you. I want to welcome you and enjoy the show. Back to you, Eunice.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for the warm words of welcome. I also want to go to the chat box. A lot of people have also been updating us on the chat box. And I also want to welcome people who are joining us on YouTube. We are live on YouTube. Welcome, and feel free to ask any questions. Feel free to introduce yourself. And also let us know which stage of the planning process are you. And so straight away, I'd like to go to Tabitha. And I just want to know, Tabitha, I think all of us here would like to know, for you who has already gotten married, how did it all start? With a proposal. Was it the same case for you? Was there a formal proposal? And if there was, how did he propose? We're very curious to know that.
Wow, well, that's a good starting point because, yeah, wedding planning should start when there is a very clear proposal. And a proposal means, will you marry me at this time and date? And, you know, it is shared with your family and your loved ones, your guardians. I know many of us have been in the situation where, you know, a man will promise you a ring, but that doesn't mean that's a proposal. I think I used to be of the mindset that as long as he said, you know, I'm going to marry you, that's not a proposal. I think there was a lot of value in actually having my husband get down on one knee and pop the question. So he took me and a bunch of our friends to Nanyuki, to the slopes of Mount Kenya. And he proposed at sunset. He had planned like a bit of a staycation. Remember, my wedding and my proposal was way before COVID. So I got engaged April 22nd, 2019. And my wedding was February 22nd, 2020. So 10 months later. So yeah, it's the best feeling when you get to have that ring on your finger. And my heart was just so full. I knew that I wanted to spend my life with him. So yeah, I'm blushing. I'm dying, guys. Can we go to the next question?
I'm just curious, Tabitha, did you see it coming? Did you see the proposal coming?
Yeah, I did, because, you know, my husband, he was not playing games. When we started dating, he was like, I want to marry you. It was, in fact, he even said, I could marry you soon, like even within a few months, but our parents might be a bit concerned and they'll be like, well, you guys haven't dated for that long. We've been friends for some time, since 2012, on and off, not really in each other's lives. So my folks knew him, his folks kind of knew me, but they were like, hey, they can't just meet in 3 months and get married. So yeah, I mean, I kind of saw it coming. I knew we were serious, we were dating for a purpose, and that within 2 years we'd be married. Yeah, so I knew the question would be coming, and at that point we'd been dating for 1 year and 5 months.
Okay. So you've just gotten engaged, yeah? You're over the moon, you're very excited. Perhaps you're even nervous, yeah? So please tell us, whom did you tell first? But I know you were with a group of friends. So outside the people who were present, who did you tell first? And what was going through your mind at that time?
Wow. Oh gosh, that moment is just euphoria, absolute euphoria. I immediately called my mom. I'm blessed to still have her with me, and she and I are very close. So I called, she was the first person I called, and I said, Mom, you know, my voice was, I was literally, actually, I was like this, I was shaking. I don't know if it was adrenaline, I don't know what it was. So I called her, my voice was shaking. She's wondering, are you okay? And she had known we had gone for a road trip with a couple of friends. So she said, are you okay? Is everything okay? I said, oh my God, Mom, you popped the question. You know, we had a feeling it was coming. And she was like, oh my God, finally, congratulations. You know, so then I shared it with my brother and my sister, who don't live in Kenya. They live in the US and Australia, respectively. But then we kept it to ourselves for about like a few, I think 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We just wanted to savor the moment before everyone else starts bombarding us, especially because I'm a public figure. I didn't put it on my social media, I think, until 2 months later. And I just put like one post. It was very vague. I didn't show him. In fact, people who are maybe joining the call who know me know that I didn't show him at that time. But within my immediate friendship circle, everyone knew. And yeah, people were happy for me. It was a really nice experience to be proposed to.
Yes. So now you have gotten engaged, yeah? You have already informed people. Everyone knows there's going to be a wedding in the near future. So what happened next? Where and how did you begin your wedding planning process, and who was involved in the very first stages?
Yeah, that's a good question, because immediately after that euphoria, you know, of like, oh my gosh, now I'm engaged, people start asking you, okay, so when's the date? Have you chosen a date? And you're like, oh my goodness, now how do I start choosing a date? So I'm the type of person I am, and Henrietta, having worked with me closely to plan my wedding, knows I like to plan, I like to visualize, and I like to do it as early as possible. So I knew that, I'd have to pick a date, and I knew I didn't want a December wedding. So remember, I'd gotten engaged in April, because I knew December would be too close, 8 months. And then Kenyan, pre-COVID, you have to do all those traditional ceremonies, parents visiting the other parents, all of that, the bridal shower. And I was like, 8 months will be too much, being that we have work going on. And, people around us also have a lot of things going on. So we wanted to have a wedding within 10 months to 1 year. And we thought February is a good month because a lot of our family actually has anniversaries in February. And it's just something sort of like in the family system. So the first thing I did was actually select a date. And because I'd gotten engaged on April 22nd, I looked through the calendar for like a perfect date. I've always wanted to get married on like a symmetric date, or a date that is like, oh, that's a very interesting date on the calendar, like maybe 3-2-1, 1-2-3, on the calendar, So when you write it down, it has some sort of just poeticness to it. So the poetic date that I found was 19th October, so 19/10/2019, which should have been too soon, or 2/20/2020. So 22nd of February, 2020. So that's literally how I chose my wedding date. I was not, and then now I started hammering it down, cascading that date to his parents, to my parents, saying, now guys, the wedding is on this date. So lazima tujipange. So when is the rurashio? When is, all those other functions that we had to do? Everything was planned around that date. And then the next step that I did is the friends of mine who had been brides before. I just said, guys, where do I start? So they were like, okay, somebody send me a document. I think even some of the people attending this call know that I had shared on my YouTube just a simple Excel sheet that helps you break down what are the things you need to think through on a wedding, and there are many. So from there, I started to think, okay, I need vendors, and I started with what I liked and what I like, which is decor. So in fact, Henrietta, that black tie events. And then from there, really everything else started to fall in place. I will tell, before you ask me the next question, I will tell the brides in the house on day 1 of, let me say day 12 of your engagement, do you think that wedding is yours? As time goes on, and Henrietta saw this even in my case, the parents start to step in. We had planned our weddings in Tigoni Limuru. My father-in-law said, nope, it's going to have to be at this other location. So allow for that flexibility. It's good to start to figure out some things on your own, but also as time goes on, you'll realize that your folks and especially your folks or your guardians, the ones who are gonna be most likely paying a big chunk of the bills, want to have a say in how the wedding is planned, and they also want to decide what's important and what's not. So keep that in mind. Yeah.
Tabitha, you've said something that is very important. You said that when you started planning, you looked at your friends who have gone before you and you asked them for advice. This is because, you see, you were a first-time bride, and probably if you did not do that, you would be lost. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. So with the same question in mind, I'd like to turn to Henrietta and ask. So a lot of people get engaged and wish to start planning a wedding, but they do not know where to begin, mostly because it's their first time doing so. So with your many years of experience in the industry, Henrietta, as a planning and a decor company, what would you normally advise a bride or a bride-to-be who comes to you and is starting to plan their wedding? Because they're probably asking, where do I start from? Where do I begin? Henrietta?
Thank you, Eunice. Let me start by saying that the planning process itself differs from person to person, simply depending on what is important to you and what you like. Like Tabitha said, top of her list was the decor. Then the rest of the things will probably fall into place. But that being said, the secret to having a successful, stress-free day would definitely rely on one thing: being prepared. And coming up with a checklist is one important thing. So you need to create a checklist, follow it step by step, and you're going to have a successful day. Of course, there are people who feel a checklist is too overwhelming. So what you need to do is pick out what is most important to you or what you like best. And then the rest of the things you can delegate to your family members, your friends, even your planner. You will realize that they are actually quite happy to help you out. We could also talk about what exactly is in a checklist, but Tabitha, having been there, done that, probably knows the ins and outs of what a proper checklist should entail. So probably she will give us, she will enlighten us better on that. But I could give my five, what do I call this? My five must-haves, let me say. So let me start by budget. And this is quite important before you do anything else, before even hiring a wedding planner, before you think about your venue, your photographer, or even buying a dress. You really need to first establish your budget. It is a critical first step. It might not be the most interesting bit, but it sets the rest of your wedding planning in motion. I mean, it would be so bad for you to fall in love, let's say, with a vendor, and then you realize later on that they are way out of your price range. So you need to sit down with your parents, talk to the persons who are willing, let me call them the key contributors to your wedding, come up with a budget, then allocate these monies accordingly, especially according to the head count, how do I say this? According to the number of people you're expecting to have in your wedding and also your priorities. The next thing is that you need to get inspired. Now, the list that I'm giving you is probably what you need to have by the time you're coming to me as a wedding decorator or any other vendor, let me say. So you need to also get inspired. And this would be the most fun part, I should say. And how I usually advise my brides is to, I just tell them to close their eyes and just imagine how they would want their guests to feel when they walk into their wedding. This one exercise can help you shape a vision that may become your planning framework for the entire process. It can also show you what you want to see, basically what you want to see for your wedding and also what you don't want to see for your wedding. The next thing that you need to do is start on a guest list. Coming up with an estimated guest count early enough is important because there is a difference between a 50 pax wedding and a 300 pax wedding, all right? It affects the venue that you choose. It affects the, let's say, the food. It affects the table numbers that you're going to have. So coming up with a guest count is of most important. Then the next thing is to also narrow down on your dates, because especially when you are thinking of getting a venue, you need to narrow down on your date. The next thing that you need to do finally is to choose a venue. You have your budget, you have your estimated guest count, you have a potential wedding date. The next thing that you need to do, now it will be easier for you to book a venue. Once you have booked a venue, it now gets to the fun part where we talk about your flowers, we talk about your wedding colors and all these fun little bits.
All right, Henrietta, so what I'm hearing is for anyone who is starting to plan their wedding, the first 5 steps that you normally would advise your brides are: first, you figure out your budget, then you dream. And then you also figure out your guest count. You get an estimate of the number of people you think would come to your wedding or you would want them to come to your wedding. After that, you book or you choose a venue. And finally, now you go to the nitty-gritty, the flowers and what have you.
Yeah, of course, the list is pretty much longer than that, but those are just my 5 must-haves by the time you're planning to speak to your vendors. Yes, it just makes the process much easier that way, and they're able to give you a quotation at that time.
Yes. And I very much like your very first point, the budget, because a lot of these processes require a lot of finances. So Tabitha, I'd like to ask you, did you have the money conversation with your then fiance even before the engagement about financing the wedding? Or did you start planning financially for the wedding after the proposal? Tabitha?
That's a good question. That's a fantastic question, Eunice, because I've seen it happen both ways. I have a friend who is pretty sure the guy she's with is going to be her husband, and they've already started to discuss costs. I think for me, it's a personality thing. I'm just a realist. I wanted to see a ring on my finger, and then I start thinking about budgets and that kind of thing. So we had the conversation after the engagement. I think even, at least in my personal experience with my fiance, I think having the ring on the finger really now makes you start thinking, okay, we have a wedding to plan. So we need to sit down and figure out, okay, how is our household going to look, because we weren't living together before our engagement. So trying to figure out, okay, how is our budget going to look like, our household when we eventually move in together for our wedding? That is number one, you know, because the wedding comes and goes, but where are you going to live? We had to collapse our homes into one just before the wedding. You know, so we were focusing on that priority immediately after engagement, furnishing the home, putting a deposit for the home, which was a lot of money. And then by the time we recovered from that, we were now able to say, okay, within the next couple of months, this is the amount that we can raise together between the two of us from our jobs. And then this is the type of wedding we want to have. So we'll suggest these numbers to our parents. But that budget conversation, in my experience with the folks, I put out the big numbers first, just to let them know, because weddings are expensive and ours was in the millions. I'll just be honest with the people who are in the room. It was in the millions, and we were only able to raise about a third ourselves, my husband and I. And then the other 2/3 was raised by our parents. So we dropped the big numbers from the get-go, because you're not going to have your parents understanding how they're going to raise, I don't know, 1.5 million in 3 weeks' time for your wedding. So it's better just to, you know, tell them this is how the industry is like. And this was pre-COVID, so maybe things have changed. Maybe the rates are a bit lower. Weddings are smaller. Our wedding was 400 people. Obviously now your budget would be smaller because I'm assuming because you have less packs in the room. But when they started to see, oh, we have to raise this amount in 10 months, then they started to get their act together. I think also in the long run, it made it that we had the wedding of our dreams, because we gave them the chance to say early in time, you know, we can't afford that, or, you know, let's go for this cheaper option instead, or okay, then that means we need to raise this amount in the given time. So I think it's important to just be candid, is my experience. For me, with my parents, we've always been open discussing cash. I know it's not always the case. In fact, now it was the opposite for my husband. Them, they don't discuss money. Money is available in the, you know, in the grand scheme of things, but you don't discuss it. So we had even gone, let me give this story, Eunice, excuse me.
Yes.
It was 1 month, 1 month, Henrietta is telling me, girl, you have to pay me my money. I've now decorated your wedding. So I had 1 month to go. And Henrietta has given me her bills and other vendors as well. And so we said, okay, we have 1 month to the wedding. It's January 22nd. So we said, okay, let's meet for the chairs and switch off the lights. And then my father-in-law says, okay, so what brought us here? And I'm like, wow, I'd come with my notebook. Henrietta knows me. I come prepared, notebook, need Excel sheet, ready to go, ready to discuss money. 1 month to the wedding, 4 weeks to the wedding. We had not fully finalized on all our numbers. So you can imagine, for me, who had started planning the wedding 10 months earlier, I still had to deal with this circumstance where I know my parents-in-law are going to give me the cash that we need for the wedding, but they're not saying definitively, are you going to give me 1.4 million, 1.3 million, because that means they need to raise. It's never a linear conversation, and depending on how your parents and your parents-in-law are, and I still love them. The other strengths that they brought to the table, you know, the budget side was difficult. I'm also learning them. They're learning me. There's African traditions around money. I'm living abroad in foreign countries, so I'm used to, like, you know, give me the cash. Discuss. I had to learn to be. They're like, wait, this chick is direct. And me, I'm like, okay, you guys need to speed it up. We have a wedding coming up in a few days and we have not discussed the budget, you know, but it's really, really just a point of maturity. You'll have a lot of fights with your two excuse me, the two of you, and you exchanging your vows. And honestly, if that's all that's done on that day, you've had a wedding. But I know many brides, especially the brides in the room, is called off. No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's a difficult one for sure.
Yes. Okay, thank you. A lot of couples do not normally know how much their ideal wedding would cost. And so I want to pose this question to Henrietta. I know you receive a lot of people or a lot of brides who come to you with images from the internet, more so Pinterest, yeah? So they come to you and they would really not know how much their visions would translate to in terms of costs. So how does one go about setting a budget for their wedding? Also, when a couple approaches you with certain images, Henrietta?
So like Tabitha is saying, money conversations can get extremely tricky, especially if you don't have them at the right time. So I do propose talking money right from the beginning. It's an integral part of the planning process, and it just needs to be had. Let me just say this: when a potential bride calls in, they have all this, big visions of how they envision their wedding to be. My next question, after listening in, my next question mostly is, what is your budget? Now, 98% of the time, the brides, or because mostly it's the bride who calls anyway, the couple doesn't know how much their budget is, they're not sure. And in some instances, they're not willing to disclose. And obviously that's not the way to go. It's good to be candid about your budget so that the wedding planner can be able to assist you. You just might end up missing on your dream vendor just because you did not want to talk money, you are not candid. This is my budget, can you work with it? And the thing is, vendors, the wedding pros that we have now are very honest. I can guarantee you, if you don't fall within their price range, they are even willing to recommend another vendor who can be able to work for them. But now, probably I should advise brides on how to navigate their budget and how to just know right from the get-go how much money I have to spend. What you need to do in the first place is do your research. Mostly on the vendors. Get to know your vendor even before you get to call them. Some vendors will portray their prices on their website. They make it very easy to find. And even those of us like myself who have not disclosed this information on our website, we at least give a bare minimum. So it's always good to ensure that you do your check, your background check, and also get to know how much things cost. The next thing that you need to do is find out who is contributing what. If it's only you and your partner, find out how much you have, then talk to your potential contributors and find out exactly, be candid. Like Tabitha, when you're seated with your parents, like you could have just told them, hey, tell me, how much are you giving me? Are you buying? Do you know, in some instances, we've had to wait for, and I don't know if there's any wedding vendor out there who can relate to this story, where we've had to wait for money to come in. Let's say we have money for tents, we have money for the dance floor, but we don't have money for flowers because there's somebody else who insisted they want to take care of these things. And it's okay, because every bit of that is quite interesting and we're used to it. But it's good to be forthright and tell the people who are willing to help you to just be forthcoming. And if they're not willing, then you move on to the next step. The next thing that you need to do is estimate your guest count, because the number of guests that you're inviting equals the total number of the wedding, especially, the total cost of the wedding, especially when it comes to things like food, wedding spaces, and also decor, especially when it comes to the table decor and whatnot. So ensuring that you have the number of people who are coming to your wedding is ideal. So once you have all these things set, then you're able to do to have like a ballpark budget. Then from there, you're able to approach the vendors with that budget. And obviously you have to ensure that you don't go overboard, because there is definitely life after your wedding.
All right. Now, now you're getting married. I'd use the example of Tabitha, because you are a bride on the panel, former bride on the panel. So you're getting married, it's official. You have a budget in mind. You also have a vision. Now you need to settle for a date. I wanted to know what influenced your decision for the date that you had for your wedding, but you already took us through that process. So I'll shoot this question to Henrietta. In Kenya, there are months that are popular for weddings. There are months that people prefer to have their weddings. Which are these months here in Kenya? And secondly, what influences a bride to settle on a particular date? If she came to you and she asked you for advice, she tells you that she should like advice on setting a date for their wedding, what is it that you would tell them? Henrietta?
All right, so in Kenya, we experience relatively good weather, because mostly that's why people would choose to have a wedding on a certain date and a certain month as opposed to another. So I should say we are not majorly affected. In Kenya, we're not majorly affected by the weather, but the 5 best months, or the 5 most popular months to have your wedding in Kenya would be in February, in June, in August, and October and December. February being the month that comes right after January, which is considered a month whereby it's tough financially for almost everybody. Then the second month becomes like a breath of fresh air. So you will find a lot of people tending to have their weddings in February because they're, more relaxed and they're just from a tough month. So it just, I tend to think that it becomes a little bit more easier to set your wedding on that date. In June, we have a lot of weddings in June, and I don't necessarily know why, but I think for the ladies who are called June, probably that's a reason for them to be having their wedding in June. But I think financially, this would be the month that most working class people are more stable and are generally okay with their monies, because they have had time to just stabilize themselves. Then you have the month of August, which is also quite a busy month in the wedding industry. And more so if you're looking for crowd. This is the time schools are closed. This is the time people are having they're taking their leaves. So I think we tend to have a lot of weddings in the month of August because of those two factors. The month of August also is quite a busy month. It is also a relaxed month. This is the time when people also have had time to are also stable in their finances and would be willing to support you in your wedding. So yeah, I think that's why. Then you have the month of December, which is like the mother of weddings. A lot of people tend to get married in December, I think because we have more free time, and there are some couples who just want to get into the next year as husband and wife. So they tend to rush and ensure that they close the year as husband and wife. The third month of December, the third week of December tends to be our busiest week. It's usually super crazy, of course, because of the rush, because of those factors that I have listed. Yeah.
Hello?
Uni? Eunice?
Oh, sorry, there was a bit of lag.
Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
yes. So for those of us in attendance who have just gotten engaged, we're looking at February, we're looking at June, we're looking at August, December as the popular months to get married, and for the reasons that Henrietta has stated. Now, in the wedding planning process, it's very important that you choose your vendors well, because it is your big day. You do not want somebody, a vendor, to let you down. So you go through the process of selection of vendors. So Tabitha, you worked with several vendors during your wedding, and perhaps many of them, you had not interacted with them on a personal level beforehand, but you still gave them the job. So I'd like you to take us through your vendor selection process, because this is a very important element of the wedding planning process. A vendor can either make your wedding or break it. And we'd also want to know what influenced your decision when choosing these vendors. In the same breath, please tell us, how did you settle on black tie events, and what was it about Henrietta and her company that sold you off? Tabitha?
Okay, thanks, Eunice, for the question. So I think we've spoken a lot about budget. And within budget, there are so many categories. I think Tatiana in the chat had requested for the Excel sheet. That Excel sheet, I actually got it from a friend of mine who I used to work with. It helps you break down what are the different categories of vendors you can start to look at the spectrum of wedding planning. So obviously, okay, let me not say obviously, it doesn't have to follow the way I did my wedding, but I had a morning session at the church, and then we had the garden reception, which tends to be quite a typical wedding day structure in Kenya, within the Kenyan system. So the first thing that I decided as Tabitha is, what do I like most? And what do I want to guarantee I must have on my wedding day? Because, say, for example, if I wanted to go with a vendor, the most expensive flower vendor in Kenya, I was going to fork that money out myself, right? So cost really does influence which of the vendors you're going to select. That's always the starting point. But then also the second thing that influences is the breakdown of the different key parts of a wedding. So let me walk you through them in my experience. Number one was the church for me, right? So for me, I found it easier to have one vendor. And remember, now it's in a physical structure. That means they don't need garden chairs, and I just need the decor on the walkway and then at the altar. So I said, okay, I need a floral vendor for the church, also my wedding bouquet and my bridesmaids bouquet. So I said, okay, if I have one person who is doing the lights and the sound and the nini, it'll get complicated. So if I can collapse it into one, it's going to be a 1 hour service, then that can be better, right? Then I said, okay, I'm going to have a garden wedding. So I also need these florals at the reception. So can they, and for me, the most important thing, as I said, was the decor. So that was my starting point. You're seeing how I'm rationalizing this budget and how I'm breaking down my vendor selection. So I said, okay, I need somebody who's gonna do my church venue ceremony. It's only 1 hour. Then, okay, we're gonna spend a majority of the afternoon at the reception at the garden. So why not collapse this service into one? Right? Gonna spend a lot of money on florals in the church. I'm going to spend money on the florals at the church reception, the garden reception. So that as well can be one vendor. So in terms of my decor, I thought, okay, I'm getting florals. Florals for me was key for my wedding, the look and feel, as Henrietta was saying, the dream that you have. For me, I wanted flowers upon flowers, all the flowers on planet Earth. I wanted all of them at my wedding. That's even what I told Henrietta. Can the flowers be this tall? She was telling me, okay, the flowers usually reach here. I'm like, can they reach here? That was my criteria. That I wanted flowers on flowers on flowers, right? So then knowing also Henrietta's experience, because oftentimes you'll go, once you start your wedding planning, you start to say, okay, let me go and see Henrietta's page. Then you'll say, oh, she does the florals, but also her seats are very nice. So then you might ask Henrietta, do you do seats and tables as well? And usually most of these bigger vendors, the ones who are established like Black Tie, they have these amenities already with them, right? They'll have the seats, the different types of seats. And believe you me, brides in the house, the number of seats available, my goodness, seats is a whole category for wedding planning, but there are many. So you want somebody, I think for me, I found it easier, somebody who can give me the core elements. It also helps you negotiate at scale, because I can tell Henrietta, but you're supplying me my 50 tables or my 500 chairs and you're doing my florals. Can you just cut up for me like 30 bob per chair? You know, believe me, that's a lot of money when you're planning for many different line items on your budget. And so you can also negotiate at scale. Also on the day of, there's that efficiency, because you know Henrietta is bringing these three things. She's, you know, a big time vendor. She can handle the volume of work. You're not dealing with 60 different small vendors. One is applying to do the byros for signing, I don't know what. I don't know, one is applying the chairs, another on the tables, another one the tablecloths, another one the table, you know, decor. It becomes hectic to manage all those vendors. So for me, what I found is, if I can collapse your services into one, if I know you do these things well, because not all vendors do everything well. You know, there'll be, you know, you'll have a vendor who does the florals very, very well. You'll have another vendor who does the seating very well, right? So you see what you can compromise there. What can be bunched into one, let it be bunched into one. There are other set vendors, for example, and this one usually is a tricky one, I think, for brides, is the food. So depending on your venue, you want to figure out how the food is going to be supplied to your guests. Are you going to have an outside caterer or not? This is usually a very big issue. We've had weddings where people get food poisoning, people are, you know, throwing up and stuff like that at your reception. You don't want that. So you want to figure out what's the easiest way for me to bring the food to my venue. My reception was at a hotel. It made it easier because they were cooking in their space. They came, they served, and we knew the food was fresh. And I also had a manager at the venue helping me with the food, right? And then you'll find that honestly, once you figured out your church, if you're having a church venue, your reception venue, because that sometimes comes with the catering and the grounds and all of that. Those are big items, big list items. Thirdly, obviously, is your seating, right? Your seating is sorted. So now you're just dealing with the small things, sound. You're dealing with things like, oh, do you wanted those to, you know, those two sparks on the stage? You want to purchase a, you know, have a stage, a dance floor. You know, you can sort of collapse those things into smaller vendors. I found, like, for example, for me with Henrietta, what I loved about working with her is that a lot of the big items she was able to deal with, especially at the reception. The reception for me had the most moving parts. I'm talking food, I'm talking seating, I need good sound, I need music, I need a tent with lighting, right? I needed a dance floor. So all, actually Henrietta gave me, I believe, if I remember right, because it's only been a year, but I believe he gave me the tent, the tables and the seating. I think I got from somebody else last minute, but she was able to provide that if you needed. If you're a bride in the house, you can reach out to her about that. And then the decor, which is a very delicate item. At least for me, it was very delicate. And then obviously the decor arrangement. How are you arranging your space? Because you also need somebody who can look at the space that you have selected and figure out, okay, I have 500 guests, how are they going to fit in here? So she also did the design. And a lot of brides forget this. You need somebody who can do the vendor supply, give you the flowers, but design your event. And that's what I loved about Henrietta. She's also an event designer, not just a supplier of flowers. So when you look at the whole setting, at the vision of your wedding, you want to be like, everything fits in together. She was able to advise the cake team, where do you put the cake table? She did the cake table decor. So when you come into the venue, everything fits together. The issue with having many small vendors, and sometimes you may do this in the name of saving costs, is that somebody just comes and just dumps their tables. Another one comes and dumps their tablecloths. Another one comes and dumps, I don't know, their flowers. Who's going to bring your event together? An event planner might help you handle your vendors, but they're not your event designer. You know, so if you want a really classy look, a really put together look, you need to get somebody with an eye for design, somebody who can see how the space comes together, the different heights and sizes of objects. So let me give you this example of my cake. My cake was 8 levels high. We cut it with a sword. That was fun. That was a very fun part of my wedding. I had to cut it with a very long sword. But now Henrietta was able to say, okay, if your cake is going to be that high, your cake table needs to look a certain way. You can't have a very kadogo flower arrangement, and then your cake is so ginormous and, you know, elegant. It just wouldn't make sense. You're getting, so you need somebody who can bring the event together for you visually, so that when you walk into your reception, you really do feel like, you know, it's come together. So that was my approach to sourcing my vendors. And then towards the end, what I did with my wedding planner is just go through each line item and confirm that, for example, a chair is a chair. These white lux chairs, when you get to that stage of your, those things are, I don't know, my time, they were what, 120, 150. There's a certain cost for certain items. When you start now getting into the ambiguities of decor, the price range might change, but then you want to buy a table. A table is 500 bob, a table is 500 bob. So your event planner comes in now to ensure that whatever your vendors are proposing as the cost is actually the market value. So huwezi chengwa, you can't be played during the process. Yeah, so that was basically my process, Eunice. Nothing like a straight line. I thought about my wedding every day since I got engaged. Plans changed a lot. I think I approached several vendors, and at the end of the day, the vibe has to just work, especially with your bigger vendors. You just have to love each other. You cannot be fighting. So many things are stressing you as a bride. So you need to get along. Henrietta and I, we really got along. Our personalities really meshed. So, you need somebody who gets you, who understands you, and who delivers the job that you're asking them to do, and at a price point that you're able to afford. Yeah. So if somebody is giving you off vibes, cut them. Mama, you're a bride. Cut and move on. Get another person, put them in place, and let them help you plan your wedding. You're the bride at the end of the day. You want the day that you want. And that's the most important thing.
Yes. I want to show our participants the cake. Yeah. Because I want to show them some photos from your wedding, because it was very beautiful. Even as we wait for Henrietta to join us, I think she's having a bit of a technical issue. Allow me to share my screen. I'd like our participants to know what we are talking about when we talk about your wedding. So this, and feel free to walk me through it because I was not there, but this was this was the photo booth.
Yes.
It was beautiful. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, so I can walk you through. Before let us go back to the other one. I tell them a bit of thinking that I've just remembered.
Yes.
So one of the most important things when choosing your vendors is also figuring out what point of the day you need who, right? Because, for example, food, people are not eating necessarily the whole day, right? They're not eating from morning 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. There are specific times of the day when things need to be done. So I knew, based on my schedule of the day, my program of the day, we were going to spend about 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours at this particular venue, this reception, and this was Karen Country Club. So I wanted my photo booth at the reception, not at the church, for example. And I wanted my guests to be able to enjoy it as sort of the gate to our reception, right? So this was done right in front of the entryway. So you came in where Henrietta is facing now, in front of her is the garage, the parking. So people walk in, this is the first thing that they see. It also, it also sets the precedent for them to see, oh, okay, this is the type of, wedding that we are attending, right? It's just a good way of saying, hey guys, for the extra brides in the room like myself, just like, hey, here's a fancy, photo booth, to wow your guests a bit before they enter the reception. So we also took some wedding photos there, as you can see. I think Henrietta took that with her phone. But that's me and my hubby with the backdrop.
Yes.
You can go on.
Yes, I can go there. Okay. Please walk us through this beautiful photo.
Oh, wow. So my cake was massive. Cakes are a whole other ball game. This was a cake by Samantha of, how am I forgetting the name of?
Cake.
But if you guys go to my YouTube,
Little cake girl.
Little cake girl, yes. So the reason I settled for Samantha was why? The reason I settled for Samantha was because I was told her cakes were tasty. I believe that was the main reason. And her price point was quite good.
Yes.
And this was a really haphazard decision. For me, the cake, the most important thing was how it looked and how it tasted. And she was able to deliver those two things for me. So I sent her the design. I got the design on Pinterest and I told her, this is what I'm aiming for. And I want a very tall cake. And so I met with her. I went to her bakery. She has it in Runda. And went through the cake tasting. And we also did the design of the cake with styrofoam. It's styrofoam, yes. the white kanani. So she places it on top for you. You can, choose the different shapes of the cakes and then also choose the cakes for the parents. Yeah, so that's how we settled on the cake. I wanted something very extra. And then I think this other photo is the chandelier that I had physically drawn for Henrietta. And she was able to deliver on it. It surpassed my wildest imaginations. So that's what my husband and I are standing under in the other photo.
Henrietta, welcome. You're going through Tabitha's wedding photos, and they're amazing. You did a very good job on them.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes. So in the interest of time, I'll just skip through the rest of the photos and then we can proceed to the next question. So this was the centerpiece, I suppose, and the photo booth. So this is what you were talking about. When they come in, this is the first thing that they see.
Yes.
And the photo on my right is the high table.
Mm-hmm.
And the lots of flowers that you were talking about earlier. Yes. It's like a garden.
I wanted to be swimming in Eden. Flowers.
Yes, this is another angle of the high table. Yes, yes. So I think we'll stop there. Henrietta, you've done a lot of weddings in your career. I just wanted to know, what is it about Tabitha's wedding that stood out for you?
For Tabitha's wedding, I think the non-negotiables were what stood out for me the most. Her high table, her entrance, and obviously her chandelier, because the importance of working with your vendor and just coming out and just saying how much you have to spend, they help you, and the both of you can work out what are the non-negotiables, what can you do away with, what items can you tone down. So for her, those 3 items that were a must-have for her are the ones that stood out for me the most. I really loved her entrance decor, her photo booth, which she was very specific about. I think when I saw her standing there, it was really an amazing time for me. We had all the greeneries that she wanted, and it was like this florals everywhere that were just really amazing. So that was the highlight for me.
You design concepts, yeah? And so when a bride comes to you, like when Tabitha came to you, she came to you with something in mind and you helped her through that process. So I'm just curious, what role did you play and what role did she play when it came to concept creation?
So the best thing with Tabitha is that she was quite organized and she knew what she wanted from the beginning. She communicated her vision quite clearly. And I think that really helped in terms of coming up with her, just firming up on her design. She knew what she wanted from the beginning and she had done her homework very well. So it was pretty much easy working with her and bringing her designs to life. Yeah. So it wasn't for her, I can say it wasn't very difficult. She made my work very easy. Yeah.
Okay. We've seen a lot of people in the who are attending are engaged and they are just beginning the planning process. I'm curious, Tabitha, when you were planning your wedding, what did you enjoy the most? What is that thing that someone who is just starting can look out for? What did you enjoy the most about the wedding planning process?
Great. Well, for me, I mean, I'm the type of person, my mother tells me this all the time, I can really live in the future. I can live 5 years from now in my head, and we still have today, you're still engaged now, you're not yet married. So I took that advice to heart and I really tried over the course of the 10 months I was engaged to absorb the ups and downs of the process. I know it's hard as a bride, you're like, oh my gosh, is the day going to come? But enjoy being a fiancé, enjoy being in that in-between stage when you're not a wife yet, and you're no longer a girlfriend, you're getting to know your family. And use that time also to grow into the type of person you want to be on your wedding day. You know, the person you are when you're engaged, the day that you get engaged, and the woman that you're going to be on your wedding day. There's another growth part there that has to happen by force and by fire, because you grow through the process, you know. So I really enjoyed that 10 months of growth. Also, people just shower you with so much love. You know, people are so happy for you, genuinely. I'm telling you, the joy. Even me and my husband were like, where? See, people love us. Even who are we? We were like, wow, we never knew we were so loved. You know, so it's a good feeling, you know, just to feel surrounded, supported, and to allow people to speak into your life and to give you advice and to support you, give them opportunities. Say, okay, we're gonna have this, you know, not you necessarily, maybe your best maid or your aunties or whoever. Let them come and dance for you and sing for you. A lot of people will give you a lot of stuff, emotionally, physically, financially, and just allowing them to step into your life and to escort you into this next phase of your life is very important. And I think just, you know, enjoy that process of checking off that, you know, that's a checklist that you have, because there are those things that you can start early, like let's say getting your dress, you know, getting your veil, choosing your bridesmaids, choosing their outfits, getting them to do their outfits, agreeing on things like venue, planning your honeymoon. You know, those are things that you can start to do now, you know, as you're waiting for, you know, things with the families to start coming together and, you know, bigger sums of money to be collected. But just enjoy that process of ticking. I was clearing my office the other day and I found I had, me Tabitha, I'm a crazy girl. I had this huge manila paper. I had divided it into small boxes and I had counted the number of days till my wedding, and every day I'd go and, you know, check off a day to my wedding. And when the day of my wedding, I remember I went and checked off the last date on that manila paper. And, you know, you look at back and you're like, wow, all these days have gone and you've grown so much, you know. So I know you're waiting for your wedding day, the bride's in the room, you're waiting, you're like, my goodness, when is this day going to come? You're like, I can't even wait for it to be behind me. Sometimes it reaches that point, you know, you're like, okay, even this ring is annoying me, you want to throw it. But believe you me, that process of growing, of becoming a wife is such a beautiful process. Embrace those emotions, embrace those feelings, the ups and the downs, embrace the process of learning how to plan for your life and for the life of your husband. Because believe me, after that wedding day, bills have to be paid, curtains have to be put up, you have to figure out what are we eating for dinner. You know, if you're going to start a family, you have to start thinking about saving for your children and all of that. So it's only the beginning of a much larger journey, but always remember that you have it within you to get it through the next couple of months. Don't give up. Some days will be hard. Some days you're gonna cry. Don't think you're crazy. Mimi nililia. It's just that I'm on social media, sisi kwenda kulia ovyo, up and down, you know. I must maintain craving yellow. But there are many days when I was frustrated. There are many days when I cried. You know, but I made it to this other end, and you're not the first one to go through it. You will get through it, and there'll be others who are behind you as well. You know, so it's part of the journey, and believe me, you can get through it a day at a time.
Yes. So Tabitha, I think it is only fair, because you've told us what you enjoy about the wedding planning process. Tabitha.
Yes, you froze.
I froze. Sorry.
Yes,
sorry.
I can hear you.
I was saying it's only fair, since you've told us what you enjoyed about the process, it's only fair if you told us what you didn't enjoy about the process.
Good one. What didn't I enjoy? The people management aspect of things. Yeah, I tend to be a go-getter. I tend also to get things done on my own easily. That's just my personality. I can just say, okay, where do I want to go? Okay, I want to move to Japan. I'll figure it out and I'll move to Japan. So this process, unfortunately, for somebody of my personality type, I had to learn to wait and to depend on others. And I found that sometimes difficult and frustrating. Whether it's somebody maybe within your bridal party, you've told them, okay, you're the one to plan for the bridal gowns. And I'm like, guys, the wedding is next week and people have still not done their, you know, Where are your ties? Where are your suits? So I think just dealing with the human side of things, and these are loved ones and friends. So, it's a different type of energy than, let's say, if you had employees or team members that you manage, you still have to maintain the relationship. So I think there's that aspect of waiting and depending on people, and also realizing that people are sacrificing for you. So you can't just be demanding, like one of my friends who's planning her wedding was like, but my parents will pay for the whole wedding. And I was like, no, they're individuals with their own plans and their own dreams. Why should they foot your, an X number of million Kenya shillings wedding? So I think also realizing sometimes you need to hold back and tone down. If the money is not there and it's coming from your parents and they're not willing to give you that money, tone down and re-strategize, because as you depend on others, you're also putting a strain on them. So I think that managing of relationships, especially with your in-laws, with your own parents who are very excited for you, they love you, they want to give you your best day, or your guardians, or as Henrietta is saying, the people are contributing to your big day, be gracious to them, because they're also stressed because you're taking them through this process. So they're happy to be there for you, they want to support you, but there's that tug of war which is inevitably going to happen, and that can be extremely strenuous and difficult. At least for me it was. But I'm happy to say at least my relationships, they survived. I still have my in-laws, bado tunapendana, Some people say after their wedding, I did 1 year, I'm never going to see my in-laws again. No, it shouldn't get to that point. It shouldn't get to that point just because of money. No, it shouldn't. But just to be aware of your own actions as you handle them, and also to read the room and to read the mood, so that at the end of your wedding, you can still have your family members and your friends intact.
Yes. Tabitha, I saw you when you were planning your wedding. I saw you. I know we haven't met physically, but I saw you at the luxury showcase. Yes, that SAMANTHA-THE put together at the Radisson Blu.
Yes.
How was your experience at the luxury showcase, and how did it influence your wedding in any way?
Absolutely. In fact, as Dr. Catherine was playing the video at the beginning, that one was the one at Sarit Center, I believe. Am I right? Yes. But then there was another luxury one at Radisson, and Henrietta had invited me to that. Let me tell you guys, everyone who is on this call, the wedding rings I'm wearing, I found that vendor at Samantha's Bridal. And I found my honeymoon destination. I was able to plan for that at Samantha's Bridal. At the luxury showcase that we attended, we were able to think through some of our photo booth ideas with my husband. And also I was able to take, now I'm sure there are many ladies in this room. Yes. We understand the cost of the wedding. That luxury showcase allowed me to tell my husband, hey, you're seeing the price points that are being showcased here. So you can start to have the conversation with your husband. Because usually girls are like, yes, I'll spend all the millions in the world to have my dream day. But your man is like, and what about we could have spent this money buying a car, or you could have spent this money buying a house, or they look at it differently. But for me, I think that was a moment for us during our wedding planning where my husband was able to see, you see how you felt when you came to this expo? You see how Samantha's Bridal put together this expo? How did you feel, right? That's the same feeling that we want to have with our wedding guests. So anyone in the room, and also there were so many vendors there. People for suits, I think we found somebody for suits there as well. There was a very good vendor. My husband found the guy who, the wedding shoes that he wore, he found the vendor there as well. So people, these are resources that make your life easier. Believe you me, these people are putting everything you need under one house. Henry, Kwanza, I remember I was having, let me, this is a side chat, Eunice, but I was having a hard time convincing my husband why we must go with Henrietta. And she's the one who had done the walkway. And I told him, husband, that time he was fiance. I told him, fiance, look at the way you're walking through this walkway. Imagine your guests walking through this walkway. How would they feel? And he was like, oh, okay, I can see the value now of working with black tie events. You see, so I mean, guys, this coming to this session, believe me, maybe it's the best decision you've made for your wedding day, because now you have a checklist literally in bunches. Like, okay, you need your wedding dress, these are the vendors. You need your food, these are the vendors. You need your rings, you need your honeymoon, these are the vendors. It simplifies the process for you. And for me, it just made me also be like, okay, this type of vendor, yes, checked. This, I was able to see the whole ceremony, which type of vendor have I not spoken to? Who have I not put on my list? What item have I not thought through?
Yes.
You know, so I mean, it was worth every cent. And obviously, knowing Tabitha, we got to look glam, my husband and I. In fact, my WhatsApp photo is a photo I took at the session. So, you know, it was worth it. And I would encourage anyone to reach out and attend these events virtually, or, you know, speak with you guys about their wedding. Definitely worth it.
Yes. I think even when we conclude, Catherine is still there, Catherine? I think probably she had, yes, she's still here. Tabitha has mentioned something that is very important, and something that you mentioned when we started about Samantha's Bridal being a resource for people who are planning their weddings. So even when we'll be closing, perhaps you will touch on that, because we are living in strange times, and perhaps maybe having a physical expo probably would mean we'd have something virtually. So as we close towards the end, we'll invite you to speak on the same. Yes. I just wanted to find out from Henrietta one thing that I've been very curious about. Tabitha is a celebrity in Kenya. She has a huge following. She has built herself a following, a huge following on social media platforms, yeah? So Henrietta, did this affect you in any way when she came to you? Was there pressure, you know, pressure to perform, pressure to even be more than what you've always been doing? Was there pressure that came with her status, a celebrity status?
Well, I remember getting the call from her, and the true caller showed craving yellow. So one thing, Tabitha, you don't know is that I was probably one of your very first followers on your YouTube channel, because at that time I was also trying to get into the YouTube thing, and I was truly impressed by her content and just how she displays her work on YouTube. So I was just like, when she was talking the very first time, I was not even like clearly listening to what she was saying.
Sorry, there's a bit of someone has come. Hello?
I think Henrietta has hung.
Yes, Henrietta has hung.
Oh, and that is just when the story was like,
yes.
really. Give her time. I think there's a lot of pressure on the, a lot of people are online at the moment.
Yes.
In the city. So there's pressure on the bandwidth across the city.
Yes.
Perhaps as we give her time to log in, maybe with another device, maybe we could, yeah, yes. She'll log in.
Yes, even as we wait for Henrietta to continue giving us the juice on the story, it was very juicy. I just want to ask you, Tabitha, a question as we wind up because of time. So you've gone through the wedding planning process successfully. You've gotten married in a beautiful ceremony. However, perhaps there could be something that you could have done differently. What would you tell someone who is listening in today and they'd like to learn from your experience? What would you have done differently throughout the whole process of engagement up to until you were married?
Okay, that's a great question. I think for me, I think I did my wedding year to the best of my ability at the time. Funny enough, one aspect that was very stressful was my cake. And maybe I would say I left that to the very last minute. Oh, Henrietta is back. Should she finish her very fire moto story?
I'm sorry, I don't know. Everything is failing me today. So where was? Yes. So I never I was like, I was in my mind, I was really trying to connect to her because she was a person that I just looked up to when it came to content creation on YouTube. The fact that she was talking to me, I was really happy about that. The first time we met, she tried to act like a bridezilla, or rather, she was, but of course she wasn't. She was just trying to put a face so that I can be scared and just do right by her. But she was truly the most honest person, straightforward, and she was extremely helpful and understanding. I often say that I get the best brides ever, and I truly, truly do. But now, when you posted your video, so I never got to realize really who I was working with. But when you posted your video on Instagram, my God, it was amazing. I got over 2,000 followers out of that post. I have done like 3 weddings from Craving Yellow. This is the time I realized, oh my God, I was truly, truly working with a.
Oh no. Oh.
Yeah, she'll be back. Just when she was in the gist of everything. 2,000
Yes.
followers. That is amazing. That is so amazing. You're doing a really great job.
But Henrietta's work, I think it sold itself. You know, even my guests were like, wow, you know, so even those who are in attendance, you know, and that's, I think, on the vendor side is, you know, with time, the ones who are true to their work and to the quality of their work, they live on, you know, because I feel like the space can get noisy and cluttered, and every other person can have an events company, you know, but the proof is in the pudding. And people, when they see the results, they come back, you know, they say, I want the one who did this. And even if I say, I can't give you their number, they will look for them, you know. So that's the kind of vendor that I found in Henrietta, is one who, number one, I was attracted to the work she had done before, because I only found her on Instagram, actually. Then I called her, and then we're able to begin the discussion. But her work sold me to her. And then now at my wedding, you know, her work at my wedding now, you know, has brought us to this space that we're in now. So we're discussing, you know, decor and events, and, you know, the wedding event planning and all of that. So I think, you know, you also have to go with the reputation that people have. And oftentimes it's quite known. And then you build that also as a way of knowing the credibility. Because unfortunately, this is one of those things where you pay for everything 100% before you've seen the work, and then the work is final. You cannot repeat the day, you know. So you really have to do your due diligence with your vendors, because once the day is done, my friend, if your cake looked how, your cake looked how, you know, the photos have been taken, you cannot have another cake, the day is done, you know. So it's worth it to really take time to get to know your vendors, let them share examples of their work, walk them through specific details. I remember with Henrietta, I was asking her, for my tent, how many of those string lights am I going to have, you know? And we counted, you know, 1, 2, 3, to the very last minute, because every one of those string lights adds a different effect to the wedding and to the reception, you know. So within my budget, we're able to say, okay, maximum is this number of string lights, right? So these small things, the details are what make your day really, really beautiful. You have to be on top of them. And you're saying something that I regretted, I think, just as we wait for Henrietta. I was saying that one thing that I think I could have done differently was the cake planning. I left it to the very last minute. I trusted somebody to do it for me who alikuwa tu anafanya mchezo, you know, and up until January, I didn't have a cake. Yeah, so when I found Samantha, you know, I really just told her, look, my wedding is in 6 weeks. It's 8 levels of a cake, and I need you to deliver this within that time span. You know, so as much as you can, do your things early. The things within your control, do them early. Check them off the list. Your hair, are you wearing a wig, natural hair, braids? What are you doing? Your makeup artist, confirm several, because believe me, makeup artist, I had one makeup artist come drunk on my wedding day. She had come from the club. Oh, look at Kathy's baby. Hi. My ovaries. You know, now I'm in that phase, guys. The next Zoom call I'm attending is for moms to moms, future moms. Although I'm not pregnant, but Henrietta, welcome back. Ole, your internet is yeah, it's behaving kidogo. But yeah, Eunice, just to conclude, I think on my side,
Yes.
The things you can check off the list, do them mapema. I was saying I had a makeup artist come from the club, you know, this was pre-COVID, to my wedding morning in my mother's house where I was getting ready. She was drunk, smelling of booze, you know. So obviously I canceled her on the spot, but luckily I had more makeup artists than I needed because I had a large bridal party. So I had about 4 makeup artists. We were 9 faces. I was not playing games. So wherever you can guarantee that you can get it off, it's not going to be a stress factor for you closer to the wedding date, get it done mapema. For me, I left the cake way too long. I was so stressed running between Karen and Runda, testing all manner of cakes, trying to get the right one. And I had a lot of pressure at that time. Towards the wedding, it's like you're a pregnant woman. You're tired. You're tired.
Yeah.
Just want to get it over and done with, yeah.
Yes. I think in the interest of time, we should be winding up. But before we do so, I'd like to address Henrietta. Henrietta, we have spoken about a lot of things, but we have not touched on the realities of the period of this year. As we all know, we are living through a pandemic, and planning a wedding is particularly hectic because we just don't know about tomorrow. Henrietta, you have planned several weddings during this pandemic, and the people who are in attendance who are planning a wedding during this period of the pandemic, what would you tell them? What would you say are the do's and the don'ts, especially for this year, 2021, where there is so many uncertainties?
I think I would just encourage. Mine would just be to encourage. I don't even know where to start when to speak about this. Just last week we had a wedding of 30 packs. This particular bride had postponed her wedding in 2020. Then she settled for this year. Then now only to be told a week to her wedding that she has to reduce to 30 people. It was devastating for her. I mean, to some point, I'm just letting my brides just have a cooling off time, and then now we can pick it up at some point. But of course, I am encouraging talking. I'm encouraging people to just continue envisioning their wedding. And of course, we've had a lot to deal with, as in, if you think about even what other people are going through, it is just devastating to think that you can even afford to have a wedding at this particular time. It is something to be grateful for. So I want people to just focus on the positive. The other time when we had a similar session, I was really, really encouraging people that this is the time to have that dream wedding. It's okay that you cannot have your 200 packs wedding, but can you make your 30 packs, your 50 packs wedding to be something that can be remembered? This is the time to focus on the good and not on the negative, and to just, just stay on the right path, and you just get married to the person that you love. It really doesn't matter what is going on right now.
Henrietta, hello? Oh, there's a problem on her end. But we are winding up, and I'd like to invite anyone who is following. If you have a question, kindly drop it at the chat box. Sorry, excuse me. Excuse me. Yes. As I was saying, if you have any question, kindly drop it at the chat box. Excuse me, there's something in front. Catherine, please take over.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. You must be maybe something in the air, some pollen or something like that. I'm just going to read some of the comments that are going on. We have Penina. Yeah, my wedding is in July. I'm currently sourcing for vendors. Someone is saying preach, Tatiana. Yeah. There's Sharon Thua who is saying this is so informative, especially on the 5 highlights. Henrietta, welcome back. Just when you're in the heat of telling us like the very best, you know, where the, you know, let me let you just continue because you're, like I said, there's a lot of pressure on the bandwidth at the moment in the city. So that's why it's dropping off. Maybe in the future we have to rethink the times, but go on what you were saying about encouraging couples about the COVID situation. And
Yeah,
okay. Her line is again, I hope she can come back. Hi Tabitha, thank you so much for sharing your experience. That's what somebody's saying. This is Tatiana Wairimo. Where can I find the planning Excel sheet, the video you referred to at the beginning? I think they need to subscribe to your, maybe you answer that one?
Yes. So the videos are available. Last year? Last year, yes. I did my wedding series video. Actually, I think there are 4 videos. So I took, my community through the entire process from, because there's also the traditional wedding planning aspect of things. Sorry if there's loud music. My husband is playing some loud music in the house. Okay, so I took you guys through everything. So there are 3 or 4 videos on my YouTube channel, and you can easily find them there. I have the list of the vendors that I used in the description box, and then there are lots of comments there that people have asked questions and I've responded to. So everything, where did I get my dress, who did my makeup, who did my hair, all of that is on my YouTube channel. You'll see just my wedding series is there, about 3 or 4 videos. Yeah, so you're welcome to watch them.
Yeah. And somebody else is asking, they just posted the question from YouTube, that is Kimari. How crucial was the role of the MC at your wedding? I mean, that is so important in terms of the experience.
Absolutely. How could we forget? What? I'm telling you guys, I attended a wedding where the decor was A1, luxury event, one of the most luxurious events I've been to. The MC killed the party. He was dead monotonous, boring. People were checking out, people on their phones, people were walking out. And the bride and the groom at the end of the wedding were like, I can't believe that the MC just did that for our wedding, So what I would say, my advice is, and my experience was, I sussed the type of MCs that have Instagram pages, because that was my reference point. I looked at how they were doing their events. Some are younger, some are older. Depending on the type of family you come from, you might need somebody who speaks the language. You might need somebody who is not from a certain tribe. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with that older generation, that aspect is still there. You might have a certain MC you love, he's from the wrong tribe. It's unfortunate that we have to discuss such things in Kenya, but it's the reality, especially when you're dealing with the older generation who may be the ones also funding big chunks of your wedding, right? So what I did is I sussed them. I saw, okay, who is available, who is not. I saw how they were leading their events. Basically, the MC, their work is to hype you up when you've come from your photo session in the traditional Kenyan schedule of a wedding. So you need somebody who's hyped. You need somebody who can understand the older crowd, but also the younger crowd, because the wedding is also yours, right? And also based on the numbers, there's some weddings where 99% is the older crowd. Then you need somebody who's more toned down. There are weddings who are balanced. For us, we had a balance of a young crowd, about maybe 50% older, 50% younger. So we needed somebody who can play both. You might have a wedding where it's 30 people, you funded that wedding, it's just your friends. You need somebody who's young and vibrant who can fit with that crowd. So interview them, ask them questions, let them tell you how many weddings they've emceed at. Let them tell you how they prefer to MC their weddings. Let them tell you how they prefer to work with a DJ, right? And the songs that they choose you know, and help you as you're walking in, how you're dancing and all of that. So they give you, literally, we agreed on this song list, which one plays first. We told them we're gonna have a traditional instrument player, who comes in when. Make sure it's all agreed on, so you don't have also those dead moments in your event where everyone is now like, hey, what's happening? Because their role really is to just keep that energy going over the course of the afternoon. So interview them, ask them questions. Do they have videos that you can watch of other weddings that they have emceed, and see how the crowd interacted? Also, how long is your event? Is it an afternoon reception? Is it a cocktail dinner? You know, okay, no, it's COVID time, so we have curfew. But in the event that curfew is lifted, you know, is it an evening event? So are they classy enough? Can they do, you know, you have to consider these things. It's like you're interviewing somebody for a job. Believe you me when I tell you, I attended a classy event, I think that is the most expensive wedding I've attended my entire life, my whole 30 years. And let me tell you something, that wedding was dead as can be because the MC let down the event. So please definitely look into that and take it very seriously. He's the life and heart of your event.
So actually one of our favorite MCs, Kimari, who is listening somewhere, he's gonna be joining us maybe a couple of, maybe not next week, the other week. And he's gonna be talking about just how to have fun, because it's really part of the experience. Couples plan, and you just think because you have really good decor, and people are sitting down, they're miserable, and that's what they remember. So it's really good. He's gonna be joining us in the coming future, and we're gonna be talking about that. Somebody is saying, this is Julie Madeka. Julie says, my wedding is in August this year. I postponed it from last year, August. Julie, I'm so sorry. But the thing that I would say is that the COVID situation has caused such an emotional whirlwind. Like, we really understand. What I think COVID brides need is a support group. Yeah, and this is why we created this, a support group. We'll be talking, in the future, we'll delve much more towards COVID. Like next week, we have somebody who's done a lot of the COVID weddings, and she's gonna be talking about it. So you can join us. So we're gonna be delving much more on that. Somebody is asking for advice to couples who are abroad and want to wed in Kenya. Perhaps from your experience, Tabitha, do you have any advice for these couples before I delve in?
Yeah, interesting. A lot of my community actually, I have a significant chunk of people who are telling me they're abroad and coming to Kenya to plan their wedding. I think in that case, I would deploy an event planner or wedding planner earlier on in the process. For me, I brought in my planner down to take over properly about 2 months to the wedding, because I was pretty much hands-on. I was here locally available. I would say get somebody you trust on a longer term contract. If your wedding is in a year, maybe get them 9 months in, start to give them chunks of work and have regular meetings with them, right? Whether it's every 2 weeks, you're meeting to give progress on certain particular check items, you know, that can be done with easily, so that they're your eyes and your ears on the ground. They can meet with vendors on your behalf, or have Zoom chats with them, or visit them, see the quality of things, the chairs that you're going to get at this study, the tables, because believe me, wedding tables, there's a gazillion types of wedding tables, right? So they can help you think through, okay, this centerpiece, what do you think? Is it balanced? Things that you can't do for yourself physically. They can visit different venues for you as well, you know, see how the spaces feel, you know, how the toilets are they clean, etc. You know, things like that need to be considered. And they can start to put the list together for you. So you literally need a second you on the ground. Begin it as soon as possible, as early as possible. Set a date, try and keep to that date. Also, because now if you have, you know, God willing, as COVID, you know, we're getting vaccinated and all of that, your international guests might want to come to Kenya, you know, so they can help you plan accommodation. And the good thing with a planner, who's experienced, she'll think through things that you are, as a bride, you're maybe not seeing. Like, okay, if you put your guests, they're sleeping at the tribe in Runda, and your wedding is huko wapi, not even what is it, Tigoni, right? So they are gallivanting across the whole of Nairobi. You have said the wedding is starting at 9 a.m. So what time are people waking up? So maybe they can tell you, look, Tabitha, actually maybe move your wedding venue to Kempinski, where your guests are going to sleep, so that in the morning when they wake up, they can make an easier trek to Tigoni. They just go with the highway, a one-way trip. So they can help you think about those logistics, but and they can give you candid feedback from the ground, but you need to get somebody trusted, even a relative. Attach one of your good cousins, your good nieces, attach them to this wedding planner. Everywhere they go, wanaenda pamoja, wanasaidiana. You see, that way, at least you can have that peace of mind, rather than trying to plan a wedding in a month. A friend of mine did that, and that wedding, things were just looking a bit, they were not really looking together, and she had the chance to have started planning it a bit earlier. So that would be my advice.
Amazing. That's really good advice. Eunice, I think you will take over.
Yes.
I think we need to bring Henrietta again.
Yes.
One of the, she has so much to share. I always say she's so international. You look at it and she can stand on any wide stage and represent. It's amazing, her work. So we'll bring her back again. Unfortunately, her internet is misbehaving. So Eunice, back to you.
Yes, I'm actually speaking with Henrietta at the moment. She's trying to log back in. But in the meantime,
I can't hear.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Tabitha, I'd like to pose a question to you in relation to COVID and what is going on with the pandemic. A lot of people have planning a wedding, but they're not really sure. And you have been a bride before. You have experienced firsthand the emotions that comes with that title. There's a lot of anxiety. And so with the pandemic, this may be heightened. What would you advise a bride who is planning her wedding this year during this pandemic?
That's an interesting question, because actually very close, clearly a lot of my friends are getting married, guys. I have so many friends I'm giving you stories, examples from, right? But there's a friend of mine whose wedding was to be in December, but she had to postpone it, and she had gotten engaged shortly after I had gotten engaged. That would have been in 2019, and she had to push it forward. And now, again, as you know, the government now has closed again. We are on a tougher lockdown than we were a couple of weeks prior ago. So, I mean, watching her experience and being very close to her and seeing the pain and the strain emotionally she has endured with the ups and downs, I think the best advice I would say is make do with what you have. I think Henrietta had mentioned this. There's so much joy in also planning a small and shorter wedding. You'll be shocked, rather than having those 3,000 guests that you're like, goodness, those people eating my pilau, the one that I slaved to pay how many millions for, and then at the end of the day, you're like, well, the people who really mattered for me on my wedding day were these, 30 people again, who you would have invited for your COVID wedding. I've seen another good friend of mine who just got married in January. What she did is, and I think Kathy had mentioned this, is that that budget that she had, she collapsed it into a smaller wedding and got all the lovely things that she had wanted, right? She got, wine on the table. I was like, wow, 2 bottles per table, my friend, which would not have been possible had she had a guest list of, 2,000 people. So you can look at it as a way to, number one, gently exclude people that, you're like, why, that person is so far off, if they're not that close to me. I think, Dr. Kathy, you had started by saying COVID has shown us who are the people that we really love, who are the people who are around us that we want to have for our wedding. This is a fantastic excuse. No one will even blame you. You didn't send me a wedding card. My friend. You just say, no, COVID regulations, just had to have close family and friends. So you can twist it for your own good. You can have the people that you love. You can have, the type of decor that you like, you can have the food that you like, the drinks that you like, because now you're catering to a small number of people. Believe you me, that day you can still have gorgeous photos, you can still have a gorgeous dress on, you can still make it work. Look at it like a blessing in disguise. There are brides who will say, well, in fact, even my sister-in-law was telling me, she was like, what? If I had these COVID times, actually, I would have had a small wedding. I would have had 30 people because she wanted a very small wedding. You see, I should have even shouted 100 people, but family was like, I think it ended up being like 300 people or something like that. So now is the time to get that wedding of your dreams. Your budget can accommodate it because you're not catering for so many people, and you can really have just something cute and intimate. Spend money on your wedding rings. Get yourself a bigger diamond. If budget is not the issue, ongeza hapo 100,000. Get yourself more diamonds on your ring, right? Because why not? Now you can do it. Now you can do it. There's no pressure to perform. The people who are coming for your wedding are people you love. You see, so turn it around for your best outcome. And you have the excuses, oh, COVID. But in this case, it can work. It can actually be a positive outcome. Yeah, it's just the mindset that needs to change.
Tabitha, you could not have said it any better. Don't you agree, Catherine?
Yes, I agree. And at this point, I think my team will literally murder me if I do not seize the moment, the opportunity to tell everybody and to announce to the world that Samantha's Bridal has a venue. Just after the hub, you have this amazing luxury background where you can, have your wedding. You can just come, the two of you. You can just come even 4 people. You can come maximum 30 people. Not just because of COVID restrictions. This is something we've been working on for a very long time, but it's a space for just intimate weddings. And it's an amazing time. This opportunity, I think so that I've had brides who they just want to wear the wedding dress and just take a photo. And Tabitha is right. You can have all the things that you want to put in. So we are open. You can call us. You can come and view the venue. We are open. We offer you such an amazing luxury background. In fact, I'm working with Henrietta. And if you like Henrietta to do, in terms of a decor background for you, she can even do it for you there. And wow, this is the time. Seize the moment and have the luxury wedding you've always been dreaming about. Back to you, Eunice.
Yes. I'd just like to close with parting shots from our wonderful panel. But before we close, I just want to do a quick recap. We had started by saying that we were going to speak about, you have just gotten engaged, what next? We have talked about getting new vendors, budgeting, booking a venue, doing a guest count. And we hope that in this conversation that we have had today, Henrietta is back. Henrietta is back. Welcome back, Henrietta. We are just winding up. But we'll not wind up before you finish what you were saying. It was very, very interesting. And there's someone on the chat who was concurring with what you were saying. She was saying that COVID brides need a WhatsApp group. Yes. But I was just winding up and saying that we have talked a lot about what you need to do now that you are engaged. And even during this period of COVID, and Tabitha has touched on very well that this is your opportunity to do that wedding that you've always wanted to do. And perhaps the numbers earlier on were a hindrance. And so with COVID, with the restriction in numbers, this is the time to have your dream wedding. So I'd like to give it to Henrietta to finish on what she was saying, and then we'll have parting shots. Even as you finish on what you were saying, you'll finish with your parting shot, and then we'll go on to Tabitha, and we'll finish with Catherine.
Thank you, Eunice. I apologize once again for my technical hiccups. I'm really trying to rectify, but there we are. So I've been listening to the conversation still, and I love what Tabitha has said. She summed it up quite well. It's probably what I also wanted to say. Mine is just to continue encouraging our brides out there. And the person who said that they need a WhatsApp group, it's I think it's necessary, but I love the Samantha Bridal platform, because I think every Wednesday we're going to be listening in, we're going to be talking to experts, and they're going to be advising us on how we need to carry through, especially this particular time. This is the time, I cannot emphasize enough that this is the time for us to get the dream weddings. You thought that you wanted your dream wedding, now is the time that you're going to have your dream wedding, mainly because it has been made affordable by the fact that we can now reduce on numbers. Yeah, so I think because I've been on and off with the meeting, I guess I'm a little bit off balance, but yes, let me just end my speech there. Thank you.
Thank you, Henrietta. Tabitha?
I think for me, it's just to say thank you to Dr. Catherine and Eunice for having me on the panel. Thank you to Henrietta for being the reason why I enjoyed my wedding day. One of the core reasons why I enjoyed my wedding planning process and also had a gorgeous wedding day. It's been a beautiful experience, and to everyone who's planning their wedding, take it a day at a time, do your level best, enjoy the process of being a wife, and remember there's life after bridal. As Henrietta always says, we are coming now for baby showers and other things. I think Dr. Catherine, you can open that side hustle for helping people plan these other segments that come later on in life. But it's an enjoyable process, and it can be done. We've done it, we survived. And I think everyone who's in this room, this virtual room today, can also get through it, even through COVID. One of the things somebody told me today is sometimes life gives you a very difficult situation, but believe you me, you also have the courage within you to get through that difficult situation. So it might feel overwhelming, but believe you me, it would not have been put on your plate. As Dr. Catherine had said, why now? Of all the years she studied epidemiology, now suddenly there's a pandemic. Why now when you're trying to plan your wedding? But believe you me, it's always for the best, and it will turn out beautifully. Just trust the process and do your best. Yes, and thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tabitha. And I think we'll close with Catherine.
Yeah. Hey, Tabitha, I have to get you as an influencer for my venue. This is such a public announcement. Hello to the babies there. That's amazing. I mean, we have to do these things all the time. I think they're calling, mommy, we have to go. So I want to say thank you, Tabitha, for just coming and just sharing and being so open. You've been so honest and really, really open. Now I understand why you have so many followers, because you're so authentic in the way you talk, like really, really authentic in that way. And then Henrietta, you know how much we love your work, and we have to come back again. Now we'll shoot this thing in person. I'm calling you next week. Yes, you see my background there. I talked about my venue. If you love that background, that's what that venue is about. That table is exactly there. You get that set up exactly like that. And I told everybody, we are working together, in terms of if they want, you can come and create that dream wedding at this venue. So I would like to really, really thank you for accepting to come, and even just thank God for your talent in that way. Thank the Samantha team for, I know, Victor, I hope you're listening and you'll be telling me everything. Stanley, we worked tirelessly today. I was learning how to go live. Actually, because this thing is happening at night. And, usually these things just happen. I show up, and so today I had to learn how to, I learned it's a button. So Stanley, thank you very much. Eunice, you've been amazing, 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 and you're doing a really good job. And for the couples, remember what I said. Let me just get my notes for reference. Remember what I said at the beginning, and even Henrietta referred to it. She said, never stop dreaming. And if anything, now more than ever, we want to make your dream wedding a reality. And it is possible. This is the time to have that dream wedding. I am telling you, the gatekeepers have been told to stay in the house. And you know, when I say the gatekeepers, everybody wants to bring all those, and uncle so and so, I don't know who and who, those people are now at home. So it's green light. We can just have the dream weddings we want to have. And, you know, for the bride who say that we need a COVID, I mean, it's so stressful. We need a COVID support group. I really agree with that. I hope you guys can tune in every Wednesday. Take these as your COVID support group. Come in, log in if you have any worries. And like I said, you can DM us, you can email us if you need to speak to an industry expert. Maybe you haven't spoken to anyone already, so you don't know who to call. You can come to Samantha's Bridal and we can refer you to anybody you want to speak with. We have direct contacts with them. We call, they pick the phones and we talk to them. So I would like to actually close with just one well-being trick that you can do. And what I want to say, you are never fully dressed without a smile. A smile spurs a powerful chemical reaction in the brain that can make you feel happier. And the science has shown that the mere act of smiling can lift your mood, lower your stress, boost your immune system, and possibly even prolong your life. I mean, who doesn't want to live to be 101? So let's all smile together and stay positive during this time. So I just want to say, no matter what is happening, just keep smiling. And at that point, I want to say thank you so much. I will send you back to Eunice to completely close everything.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much. It has been 2 hours since we started. And I'd just like to end this webinar with a message from Joanne Coy, who says, thank you so much. This has given me the boost I needed to continue. And that is such a lovely message to end this webinar. So for all our participants, I hope you'll follow us, and I hope you'll follow us on our various social media platforms: Craving Yellow, Samantha's Bridal, Black Tie, and Yulita Surprise. And I hope you'll join us next week on Wednesday. We have a lot in store for you. Please join us next week, Wednesday, and have yourselves a lovely, lovely night. For all our panelists, thank you, and may God bless you. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.